I think I realized I wanted to make this story after I met my friend Zach in I think 7th grade, and we shared interests in like comic books and heroes and stuff. And we both shared each other ideas that we had, but we never really got serious about making things.
It was in 8th grade, and it was the first day of school, and I met a kid named Zach Brandinelli, who's now my co-writer on this story. And Zach was a comic book guy, and I'm like, comic book guy? I mean, nobody reads comic books. But when we started to become friends, he let me borrow them, and I wanted to see what it was about. I was curious.
We realized that a lot of our characters and ideas could be integrated into one story. So we kind of ran from there and started making stuff.
My favorite part about working in this industry is the freedom and the amount of work that I think I can put into it, because I think with the amount of work put in, I can get equally the amount given out.
Everyone gets a feeling when you watch a movie or a TV show or read a book that you think, oh, it would have been really cool if this happened a certain way. And everyone feels that way every once in a while. And when we're making our story, I have the choice, if I agree with my partners, we can say, oh, we should happen this way, or I think this idea is great.
I love being able to bounce ideas off of people, because I might think of something that I really, really like, but then the artist or another writer or the editor might add something to it that I never even thought of. And when you're able to build on an idea that quickly, that lends itself to the actual idea. So you're going to be able to come up with something really, really cool, and then when it's able to popcorn around the room really fast, then people are going to feel passionate about it, and it shows, and that lends itself to how good your idea really is. So the freedom of it, being able to build on it, being able to do an entire universe of your own characters is always appealing to me.
We get along very well. I mean, we're all best friends, obviously, but we all have vastly different ideas because we're all on vastly different interests.
No matter how good you are friends with someone, you're still going to disagree on some things. But generally with story ideas, I mean, some of us will like ideas, some of us won't, but we always end up agreeing on something in the end. So I'd say we get along pretty great.
I would definitely say no one is perfect when it comes to working together. Everyone has their differences, and especially when you're working in an industry of writing, and everyone has their very own ideas. It's hard for everyone to piece them together.
You might have your own set of ideas as the writer, but the artists might have a different set of ideas of what a character should look like, how they should act or react, what their costume should look like, perhaps how they enter a fight, how they resolve a situation. You got to keep an open mind, because yes, there's going to be disagreements all the time, but if you stay professional and you stay focused and you're able to list why it's important that it's like this, and you give them facts and you support it, with how is this going to help the story? How is this going to help everybody in this, not just the character, but the product?
All of our ideas put together creates our ultimate idea and creates the best story we possibly can get. I've been drawing these characters for years now, and I still have not got the perfect costumes or the perfect positions for each one. But I think with the help of my team, I think I can get as close as I want to perfection as I can.
Reuben Wallace, who's our first character, he comes to the United States from the United Kingdom in the 1940s to make his own company called D Industries, D being his nickname. And he comes to really help the United States government in the nuclear weapons program.
And over the years, he collects many specially gifted individuals, and he just tries to always keep them together and try to make something better out of the world and city they live in.
They run into troubles and face problems, of course, like loss and everything. But once they learn more about themselves as a person and their powers, they can be a more effective team together. So it's really about developing as your own person, but of course, in the whole, developing as a team and overcoming their problems together.
It's always good to come up with new ideas, because it was actually Stan Lee that said this when he was talking with Mark Millar, and he just did Superior, and he did so many other comic stories that are now being made into movies, and he said, why are you asking about my old characters so much? Like Spider-Man and the Hulk and X-Men. I should be doing the interview with you about your new characters. I want to know about the new big thing that's going to come out, and how is that going to last the next 50 years? So you gotta always think about what came before, why you like comics, and then you gotta put your own spin to it.
Outlaw is essentially the leader of the team. When you replace him there, he's had the most experience. And how he came about is, back in the 40s when he was working at D Industries, he tested this serum that he was working on himself, and it made him super strong, super smart, but it took away his cell's ability to age, so he's basically eternal.
Blackbird, I drew most of the inspiration from Blackbird off of course, like a character like Robin or someone who doesn't have powers and is more of a kid role. And I based him a lot off of myself and my teammate as well, my teammates who worked in the story. He's really just a kid who makes decisions that similar to what we would make if we were in the situations. So I think the reader can really relate to him as a character, and I think that's what makes him really cool.
Golden Bullet is essentially a god from a different dimension, and he comes to planet Earth, and really under the table, no one knows about him, not even the government really knew that he came to Earth, and it just so happens the perfect people ran into him when he actually came here, being Outlaw and D, and they take him in, and he didn't know the language of humans, and he was just this really weird person, and they really taught him how to be a human being on a world that he didn't really know about.
Copper. He's a very fun and cool character because he was actually originally a police officer, so he already has the idea of protection and how to go about saving whatever it is, like the city or a certain person or hostage. How he became a hero was he was in the middle of some sort of chase or like some sort of crime investigation, and when he was hunting down this guy, he was hit by a live wire. It should have killed him, and he wakes up in the hospital a few days later, and the doctor gives him the whole report on how he's so lucky to be living, and he had like some crazy amount of vultures going through him.
Flair is she's an immigrant to the United States, and she lives, she's with a very poor family, and there's a lot of people in her family, and no one in her family really ever had like good opportunities, because where they grew up and everything, there was never anything they could do like great in the world. So when she has her powers and she's given the opportunity to actually help people and make a change, of course she jumps on that right away. And she's one of the first people who joins the team, and it's because of her that some of the other members actually join.
So Slinky Man is an injured war hero from the Vietnam War, and he's sent back to the United States, and he's in terrible shape. He basically has no limbs anymore, and he's basically, the doctors tell his family that he's gonna die. But he comes to D Industries, and they put all this money into this exo suit, you could say, and it has the ability to stretch, and that's why they call him Slinky Man.
Overcharge was originally conceived as an idea actually at a wedding, at my cousin's wedding, I would say about 2 years ago. And I was just sitting down, I was playing this Mario game, and the game was Mario, he didn't have any fireballs or capes or anything, he was just himself, but when you crouched down after a while, he would start blinking and he would jump really high. I figured, oh, that's pretty cool. What if I could somehow create a character who could do that? Like somehow like supercharge his muscles so he can let out some sort of energy so he can do amazing things, like make a cool sprint or like an awesome punch or something. So I made this kid who didn't know his powers were that particular skill, and he was a great guitar player, and he used to break his guitars because he would do it so well, and he didn't know why.
Sandstorm, he was a Persian prince who was cast into a jar, and he was turned into sand by one of his enemies. And the team comes across the jar on one of their missions, and they break him out, and he can change form between sand and back to his normal human form. And he joins the team because he really has nowhere else to go, and he doesn't understand anything about the world really. And he's very mysterious though, so oftentimes you have no clue where he is, and he'll just come in at crucial moments like to help the team. But other than that, like on a social aspect, he's really just not there with the team. He's very on his own.
Swig was inspired by my friends and all of his brothers because they're all musically talented, but they're also all amazing at martial arts. In fact, their family actually owns a martial arts studio in my town. So when I made the character, he's kind of short, on the shorter side. He's like big glasses and he has like these earphones. And what he does is he listens to music and he choreographs fighting styles and techniques to fight crime.
Well, you don't want a comic book or a story populated with just heroes. I mean, where's the fun in that? You don't want Spider-Man just bouncing around the city unless he has something to do, someone to protect. And with that, you need an antagonist. Someone who has very sinister intentions. Someone who's very selfish. Someone who might think they're being noble with what they want to do, with their goals, with their mission, whether it be science, whether it be sometimes religion, sometimes with just their own motivation in life. You need someone who is going to give the hero a run for their money, and that's where danger comes in and where the plot thickens. That's where things get juicy, and you need a good villain for that.
Lou he's the equivalent of like the devil in the story. He comes in a little bit after the team's already gotten to like come together more, and he really kind of tears them apart, and he's the first really big villain that the team has to handle, and that's when they kind of realize that there's a lot on their plate, and there's more powerful people that it'll take all of them to fight, not just what they've been used to.
I think the hidden message or the meaning behind our storyline is actually not hidden at all. I think the whole meaning is teamwork, and it also goes with us as creators teaming up, because we all have to work towards a common goal just like they would, and it all depends on, we have to cover each other's weaknesses with our strengths.
Like no matter how good you are, no matter how strong you are, depending on your powers or your skills, if you have people to back you up and who understand you and understand what they're capable of, and everyone works like great as a team, then you're going to be able to get a lot more done, and everything's going to run smoother.
It tells a great story as well as has great artwork, and I think that literary, like actual books and the authors get praised just as much as the fine artists do, but when you put them together, somehow it gets transmitted as a child's plaything.
They're just good stories, and they're really art that people don't appreciate. Like, you can go to a museum and see art, and you're like, okay, I mean, it's art. I've seen it in pictures online and stuff before. And this is really the same exact thing, except it's people doing it on a monthly basis. And it's really cool to see that these people are perfect at what they do.
I mean, a lot of people look at it more childish because of the pictures and everything, but I mean, just like books and movies, it's a way of getting across a story. And oftentimes, if you have pictures to go along with it and the words, it can tell a story like very well.
So I think that if these were shared more, then more people would appreciate it, and it wouldn't be labeled as a nerd thing.
To me, if you have the greatest writer in the world, and you have the greatest artist in the world, and they write and they do something together, it's not going to be an art book, it's not going to be a novel, it's not going to be a coffee table book, it's going to be a comic book.